word. Father Yah, we thank you right now for this day that you have made. We should continue to rejoice and be glad in it. Father Yah, we come against all type of hindering ruachs. We come against ruachs of depression, ruachs of anxiety. Father Yah, we come against all type of panic ruach, Father Yah. We come against ruachs of all forms of sickness right now, Father Yah. Father Yah, we just thank you right now for a closer walk with you, Father Yah. Father Yah, we just magnify your name because there's none like unto you, Father Yah. For you alone are worthy to be praised. In the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach, we pray. So be it. All right, everybody. Wonderful Shabbat day today. Just thank the Most High for just another day being here, another day to get a chance to do the will of him. We're going to be talking about leaning to your own understanding. And basically the topic is lean not into your own understanding, but a lot of people lean to their own understanding. And I would say a rhetorical question, does anybody remember a time when they leaned to their own understanding and the results were awful? Because what happens is most of the time when you're in Yah, when you lean to your own understanding, you kind of get I would say like a feeling, unction from the Ruach telling you not to do something or, or to back off from something, and you go forth with it anyway. And it wound up not working right or wound up being hard. It seemed like you're kind of going against the grain. So you kind of got to remember that when you're in the Most High, you have to make sure that you're following what he told you to do and what his will is for you. And what I see is a lot of people in the walk now are actually listening to other people. You say, don't lean to your understanding, and you're not supposed to lean to someone else's understanding that's not lining up with the word of Yah. And so when you do that, you kind of get yourself involved in cultish activities. You want to make sure that you're, doing what the Most High wants you to do. And the whole method to this is, I realized that when you begin to reverence Yah, you don't have a desire to do your thing. And I say this a lot, the vision of what you're doing in Yah has to be bigger than you. And once it begins to be not about you, and I say in its totality, when it's more about the mission, then at that point you begin to flourish and begin to prosper into the things of Yah, because you're not being selfish, because we're here as servants of Yah. And that's what we have to understand. A lot of people are caught up into themselves and to their own family, and they're not concerned about anybody else. But the mission is to actually, begin to let those know that, Yahushua Mashiach is real, that he still exists. Like, we can't get in this walk and begin to be so Torah-minded till we don't have no type of Ruach in us at all. We got to have a blend. It has to be a perfect blend. You don't ignore the law, but at the same time, you have to be led by the Ruach HaKodesh. If you're not led by the Ruach HaKodesh, you're going to fail, because in a carnal-minded man, he can't even please the Most High. And so, I'm going to get into this here. And another thing is, like, I noticed a lot of hardness and stuff like that. See, in the Ruach that I possess, it's like a lion and a lamb mixed together. Like everybody tell you, I'm meek and humble, but when it's time to strike, I can go from 0 to 100 when it's needed. That's the thing, and I will. But at the same time, that's not my attitude, to just be going from 0 to 100. My attitude is to have that perfect blend. When it's time, there's a time for everything. When it's time to stand up for myself, I do. And when it's time to be humble and to just sit back and not prove a point for somebody else, then I don't try to prove that point, because it's not about me proving a point. It's about the mission. It's about what needs to be done. Time to protect yourself. You got to do that. But at the same time, you have to realize that overall, if you're in the will of Yah, things are going to work towards your favor. It's going to work in your favor. And so we're going to look at Proverbs chapter 3. We're going to be working our way from 3 verses 1 through 8. And we're going to kind of break it down a little slowly there and kind of get into this book here, because it's a lot, it's a lot of nutrients in this book, in the Ruach. And so we're going to look at that first verse of Proverbs chapter 3.
Proverbs chapter 3, beginning verse 1. My son, forget not my Torah, but let your heart guard my commandments.
Okay. And so this is why there's a lot of stopping going on, but this is what I want to break down. The scripture says, my son. And the problem is, a lot of people are not sons. A lot of people are not daughters of Yah. They're reading the word, but they haven't submitted. They haven't done that. Romans 12:1. When Apostle Shual said, I beseech thee, brother, by the mercy of Yah, that you present your body a living sacrifice, holding yourself under Yah, which is your reasonable service. It said, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yah. And that's the thing. You have to submit unto Yah. You have to actually be an actual son and to be an actual daughter. If you're not, then this doesn't apply to you, because at the same time, you're just reading the word and you're not actually doing what it takes to be done. To say those that do not have the ruach of Yahushua Mashiach are none of his. And so if you don't have the ruach, then you're none of his. So you can read the Torah and read the 10 Commandments all you want to. You got to have that ruach to go with it. You know what I mean? You know, the Muslim, they do that. They look at everything, the Torah and all, have the ruach. And so you have to have the ruach to go with that. Other than that, all you're doing is just, quoting scriptures, and you're trying to claim something that you're not entitled to claim. You have to submit in order to be called a son or to be called a daughter. And it has to be known. Like, I don't have to prove that my children belong to me. It's a fact that they belong to me. And it has to be a fact that you belong to Yah. And that's the only way that you can do that is by submitting. It's submitting unto Yah and making this bigger than you. It has to be bigger than you. It has to be about the will of Yah in its totality. Once it starts venturing off into something else, then at that point, you begin to be in a position where you're allowing the outside thing to distract you. And that's why I say you have to look at this and say, okay, whose understanding are you leaning to? You don't want to lean to your own understanding or no one else's understanding. You go ahead. Yeah.
For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to you.
Do.
Let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them about your neck. Write them upon the table of your heart.
Okay, so basically, this is what we have to look at. You know what I'm saying? You have to actually make sure that you're coupled with mercy and truth. And the thing to this is, when you bind something about your heart, it's like David said, that word is I hid in my heart that I may not sin against thee. And that's in the Psalms. So think about Psalms 119. So when you actually look at this for what it's worth, you're not actually in a position where you're trying to incorporate anything different than what the Most High is saying incorporate. You have to have mercy and you have to have truth. And most of us don't have mercy. Most of us want to crucify somebody, right? Once something happens, it's like, get them back, get them real quick. You know, we have a point to prove. That's not mercy. And the Most High have had mercy on us so much, but we don't, like the scripture say, how many times should you forgive your brother? You know what I'm saying? Like that. And I think it was like 77 times 7 or something. It's like, there's no end. That's it. We don't let nobody run over us, but this is talking about a brother or a sister. And yeah, this is somebody that brought forth offense to you. And so we have to make sure that we have that ruach of mercy and we have that ruach of truth. And they go together, because you're not operating in the truth if you don't have mercy, because it's the truth that told you that you must have mercy. You must not only have mercy on the people that are around you, but you must have mercy on situations and certain things that you get involved in, you know, and people are forcing stuff your way. And it's like, you're like, okay, they done done this one time. Now, it's not that you have to keep falling into the rabbit hole, but the thing is, you're not supposed to like straight just destroy everybody's character because they came against you and done something. That's mercy. Like, it don't mean that you have to go along with the wrongdoing of the individual. It means that you should have a sense of mercy toward them where they know that you've forgiven them, even though you don't have to deal with them in that manner anymore. And that's just a level of wisdom that you have to possess. If you don't have that, what you do is find yourself trying to get back at everybody that done something and anything that comes your way. And that's too much energy, trying to chase every wrong thing down. I see that a lot on social media. When somebody say something or wrong comment, they're getting at somebody that didn't comment, somebody that comment the wrong things. Like, you spending all this energy dealing with individuals and there's no profit in it. Like, there's no profit in that right there. So we have to make sure that also that our time is being spent wisely, because what happens is when you don't have mercy, you begin to spend your time unwise. You begin to chase down things that you could have just let go. It could have been what we call nipped in the bud, but you're trying to follow up on every little thing, every little comment, every little quote. And it's like that right there is a distraction. That's one distraction of the enemy, get you caught up into a position where you feel the need to respond to everything. Like, you got to have an answer to him that's got something to do with Yah, but responding to foolishness on a regular basis is not even, it's nothing that you need to be doing, because it takes you away from the work, the will of Yah. It takes you away from your sound mind in Yah.
Proverbs 3:4.
Yeah.
So shall you find favor and good understanding in the sight of Elohim in man. Trust is
good right there. Well, I wanted to stop there because I look at the finding favor in the sight of Yah and man. A lot of us, when you look at the book of Acts, when they were adding to the call out assembly, excuse me, so when they was adding to the call out assembly, it said that they were added as Yahushua HaMashiach saw needed, or the Ruach saw needed. They kept adding to the assembly. They say they had favor in the sight of man and Yah in the book of Acts. They say they had favor in the sight of man and Yah. And the people went on, baracking Yah, praising Yah, and actually magnifying the powerful works of Yah. And this is what we got to get back to. What we have to get back to is the perfect blend. We have to get back to how do we combine this perfect blend of Torah and the Ruach together. This is the thing. And the way you do that is you have to have the Ruach of Yahushua HaMashiach. And if you don't have that, you're wasting time. You're just wasting a lot of time, because if it was able to be done without it, he wouldn't have came. He came because of the simple fact that it was our people. It's the same thing now. When you see people out on the corner and they're telling everybody else they're going to go to hell and this and that, that's not true. When I look at the scripture, when I see Paul, when he began to talk to King Agrippa, he said, you almost persuaded me, to be a Yehud. He said, you always persuaded me to be a follower of Yahushua HaMashiach. We say, oh, King Agrippa, I wish not only you, but that all men. That's it. So it's like, so this is it, peace and goodwill to all men, all mankind. But what we're mixing up is, we're mixing up the idea that, we're the bloodline, but at the same time, the Gentiles must come in. They got to come in for this to be fulfilled. And it's like you shut the door up, but you don't allow the other ones to come in, either. It's like you're stopping everything. It's like you're putting a dam on the float. It's like that. So we have to actually look at this to what it's worth and say, okay, if we're actually trying to do the will of Yah, I encourage everybody to read from Genesis to Revelation. Even if it's just a research of it, just get a knowledge of what's going on and get the whole picture. Get the whole picture and find out what's going on. Because if you don't, when you start reading only in the beginning or only in the end, you start leaving out a lot of stuff. When we was in Christianity, we read the end most of the time and kind of just played with the beginning a little bit, but kind of focused on the end. And we said, okay, everything that was, they said don't do, when it come to the dietary law, come to, certain things we just ignore. They just said in the actual law, it was actually a problem to us. But when we actually looked at, now when we're in the walk, you look at only most of the beginning, it's like you want ones I'm seeing wanting to take out the end. You can't take out the end. You have to bring it all together. There's a beginning and there's an end. The only thing we have was mixing a lot of ones up is when Yahushua HaMashiach comes in, he begins to offer a level of grace. Things when they say that I am Lord of the Shabbat. He's not saying don't keep the Shabbat. He's making provision for you if something happens on the Shabbat that you must take care of. That's an emergency. That's what he's doing, but they don't want to acknowledge that. And it has to be acknowledged. That has to be acknowledged, and the Most High been laying heavy on my heart until all the Gentiles come in. This ain't gonna be, we're gonna stay asleep. And so it's like a lot of us are still asleep, and they're trying to, even the ones that's out there, they're not realizing you're trying to, it's like they're going backwards. They're trying to go and minister to their people on the corner, but yet at the same time, they're telling the Gentiles they're gonna go to hell. But they're not offering them salvation when salvation was offered unto them. That don't make us less than, because we're offering them salvation. The words say to the Yehudim first, then to the Greek, then to the Gentiles. So it came to us first. And that's what we have to look at. We can't just shut the door. And it don't take away from the pride of us. It don't mean we go back and start mixed racing. And it's none of that. It's salvation. That's why I say there's neither Jew nor Greek. It's talking about salvation, male nor female. It's talking about salvation. It's talking about in Yahushua HaMashiach. It's not saying anything different. And that's what we have to look at. We have to make sure that when we're in this walk, that we're not denying ones. We're supposed to be offering. We're supposed to be the light of the world, the salt of the earth. We're supposed to be the ones offering salvation unto them. It just means that we have a more, like a greater responsibility that we have to do. And the Gentiles must see the light in us. They must see us as seasoned unto the world.
Verse 5.
Yeah, do that.
Trust in El Yahuwah with all your heart, and lean not into your own understanding.
Okay, just fine. Well, this is the thing. So we're going to turn to Isaiah 55, and it's probably the only one I have to turn to, because it's going to actually kind of break this down a little bit. Isaiah 55, 8 through 11. And it's talking about, the Most High, how he's different from us. And a lot of people don't realize that when you have someone that created the universe and everything, like, who wouldn't want to trust in that like that? So it's like, what else are you trying to trust in? It just, trips me out when people want to trust in graven images and statues of Buddha and all this kind of stuff, and people, and old saints that they make statues of that you see in the Catholic Church, Dominique, Saint this, Saint that, Saint Peter, and all. There shouldn't be nothing else that you're putting before Yah. These are graven images. That's the thing. So he said, for I, Yahuwah, is a jealous ear. There should be no other ever before me. So it's like, why are we putting things before him? Why are we questioning his intelligence and stuff of that nature? Like, we can't compare our intelligence to the intelligence of Yah. It's just never the same. Just like a parent's intelligence is going to be high in majority of cases. Like, as we get down into the last days, it begins to dumb down a little bit, but in the way it's supposed to work, the parents supposed to have more knowledge than the children, like that, in wisdom when it comes down to that. So let's look at Isaiah, I think I said Isaiah 55. You can go ahead.
Okay. Isaiah 55, beginning at verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, says Yahuwah.
Now you see that? He say, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, says Yah. I know more than you. I'm not on the same thinking level of you. Anytime somebody, like I said, could call forth light in the midst of darkness, it's like, you just, what are you trying to compare? Go ahead.
9. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain comes down and the snow from heaven and returns not thither, but waters the earth and makes it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater. So shall my word be that goes forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it.
Okay, now when you read all that in its entirety, it's explaining the difference from you and Yah. It's like, basically you just break it down to, here's the potter and you're the clay. That's it. And it all boils down to, you're going to be molded and he's going to mold you. Now, this is the one that allow him to mold them. If you're actually acknowledging the fact, like I said, if you're a son or you're a daughter. So we're looking at this and it's, going fast forward. And he's saying that if I said it's going to happen, it's going to happen. There's no way around it. So if you're in the will of Yah and not doing your own thing, then at this particular point in time, you'll begin to realize that you have nothing to worry about. There's no sense of worry about nothing when you're in the will of Yah. You have to be in the will of Yah. It goes back to the storm, I think, Uraculum, or somewhere they call it, when Paul and them was actually on the ship, when Paul and them was traveling on the ship, and it said the storm began to come, very fierce winds. And Paul began to tell them, hey, look, unless these men abide in the ship, they will not be saved. Then he told him, say, if you get out the ship, you're not going to be saved. You have to abide in Yah. So he said, unless these men abide, they won't be saved. And they came in on broken boards all the way till they got to the shore. This was because, the Ruach HaKodesh and Yahushua Mashiach as a whole had this thing locked down. The Most High shined upon them and began to allow them to be prosperous in the midst of that storm. But they couldn't lean to their own understanding. At that point in time, they had to believe what the apostle said. He said, you get out the boat, it's over. Like, you get off this boat, I don't care, and the boat looked like it's falling apart. I mean, when I say at this point in time, you're thinking in your mind, it's time to get out of here. You say it's all crumbling, everything is coming down. When you look at this, if you just get a mental picture of this, a fierce storm, you're out there and it's dark out there. And you're out there, in the water, like in the depth, right in the middle of nowhere, and the storm is fierce and the boat is beginning to, people were at that point pretty much trying to commit suicide, because what else were they going to do? You had certain ones probably trying to get off on their little, whatever little boat they be having, a little rescue boat, but it wasn't going to help them. They probably even had that back then. But the point is, he said, unless these men abide in the ship, they will not be saved. And that's the thing. So you have to abide, even though it seems like it's looking rough, is how we translate this. That don't mean that the Most High is not going to do it, but you have to make sure that the Most High said it, and that the Most High told you he was going to do it. If he said he was going to do it, it's going to happen. Look at Abraham, look at Sarah, being that old. They wind up having Isaac. But the Most High made the promise, and he made good on his word. He said it won't come back void. He said he made good on it. He said it's not going to come back void. So if you got a job to do and you're in the Most High, nothing is going to happen until you finish that. The job has to be fulfilled if it's been prophesied by the Most High. It has to be fulfilled. Now, you can do some certain things to actually get yourself out of the will of Yah and shorten your days according to certain things I read. But for the most part, if you're in Yah and you're doing what Yah say do, and you're doing the will of Yah, nothing can come hell and hot water. Nothing can stop it. It has to come to pass. He will fix it. And this is why we have to look at the wonderful magnificence of him, how he can actually just do things. It's like, I've been in a position where it's like, I know it was the Most High. When I talk about the favor of Yah, how the Most High just do things. It's like just simple stuff. Like I remember, just to give just a little small testimony, I was out there shoveling some rocks months ago. We were putting some pressure run down, just some rocks for a driveway. And out of nowhere, the Most High just sent one of the neighbors riding on his tractor out of nowhere and said, "Hey, you're not finished shoveling that, are you?" And at this time, I had like I would say I had like a pain from actually doing it so much because, my muscles and stuff began to be sore and aching. And so he said, "You're not finished shoveling." I didn't even know it. I had saw him one time and was introduced one time, just passing by, but we never really got acquainted with each other at all. There was no other conversation. This is probably months later at this particular point in time. He just comes up and he does the whole driveway. He spreads everything out. We talking like 20 tons. 20 tons of rock, that's a lot. And that's a lot I was going to be shoveling. And Most High knew I didn't need to do that. I was doing it because I like to get everything done. But the Most High brought this guy to make provision for me out of nowhere. And that's the favor of Yah. He just came and did it. He've done it more than that. He came over another time and spread it out and smoothed it more. He came and done certain stuff in my yard like that. And this is a Gentile. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling you, the Most High don't, there's no respected person when it comes to salvation. It don't mean to take away from who I am. It doesn't turn me to what we call a coon and all that stuff. No, it means that the Most High is using people. He's using people to do things. And if it's in your favor, you'll miss out. How about when we get to the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just? You're not going to get the money from the wicked and you're the just because of the fact that they're of a different nationality? That's ignorance. Like that. Most of them, they owe us here. Reparations. So it's like, how are you going to get it saying you don't need no help from this and that, the man and all this kind of stuff? It's like you're in a system. And in this system that you're in, we talk about it over and over again. You have to know how to function and operate in this system. You're not going to function on your own unless you go get a nation and get situated and get yourself outside of the United States. You're not going to do it in the United States. Everything they tried to form in the United States, separate from the system, they begin to come and bring secret agents in and destroy. So you have to be in Yah. There's no sense of being carnal minded. You have to be, in the Ruach HaKodesh. That's what I'm saying. He'll use people to help you. He'll give you favor just because of the fact that he is who he is. He touched that guy's heart. And the guy came out of nowhere. He wasn't even doing anything. He just got on the tractor. I didn't see him do nothing with it prior. He came straight my way and came to me and asked me, "Are you going to shovel all that?" I said, "Yes." He said, "No, I got it. Don't worry about it." That's favor. It was a lot of work. It took him a while with his tractor. Just imagine me with a wheelbarrow and a shovel. I'm just used to working. But just saying, we have to keep our eyes open and keep our mind open and don't let what we call the walk get you closed-minded and forget. That's why I say read Genesis to Revelation and find out what this is all about. And everything is begin talking. We want to get deeper into it. We have to look at Timothy. Timothy was mixed Greek and Jew, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like we look at what he done and what happened with Paul, happened to get him circumcised so he can actually begin to go into those that actually was not going to try to criticize him because he was uncircumcised. But the point was he was able to be used in Yah. It didn't diminish anything else from somebody else that was in Yah, that was of the bloodline, but it meant that the Most High, the Ruach HaKodesh fell upon everybody. When they were in the upper room, go back to Acts. When they was in the upper room, it said it came upon everybody, and it said upon them as upon their heads as cloven tongues of fire. They began to speak in tongues, and everybody began to hear everyone else speaking, and they began to know that that was their language. It's like everybody heard everybody clear. So this is how it works in this dispensation that we're in. It don't mean that we diminish who we are, but it means we are the light of the world and that we are the salt of the earth, and we have a greater responsibility. But we can't shut the door up for those that are not of the bloodline based upon some mentality of things we may have seen others doing. That's why I say I'm not following nobody. I'm not looking at anybody that's caught up into something. I'm not getting involved in a cult. I'm not getting involved in anything somebody else is doing, because if you know what the Most High said do, this is what I wanted to say in the beginning, and Ruach just brought it back to my attention. When judgment day comes, nobody on the corner, nobody else that's telling me, oh, I'll do this and that, they're not going to be there. It's going to be me and the Most High judging me. And that's what you have to realize. That'll free you up from a lot of this foolishness that's going on. It's going to be you and the Most High. It's appointed on the man once to die, after that, the judgment. And so when you realize that, you won't get caught up into anything different. You have to do the will of Yah. That's why I say read Genesis to Revelation. Anything else is a distraction, someone telling you something that it's not actually supposed to be happening this day and time like that. So we don't want to get mixed up and get confused and have others thinking we're supposed to hate other races and stuff. We're not supposed to hate anybody, but we're supposed to hate the deeds and the works that they done and realize the system that we're in. That's what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to fold and start mixing, doing all this stuff he said, don't do and all this. We know the bloodline. I say we know that we have to, according to the scriptures I read, it's best to keep it pure. But when things happen, they happen. People, they get, they do things, and that's just what they do. But I'm saying from a standpoint of salvation, salvation is due to everybody. I mean, who in their right mind would want somebody of flesh to, I would say it wouldn't be flesh, but it would be flesh at that point in time to go to hell? Like, do you really want somebody to go to hell? Like, do you have to be, is it that to that point where you want somebody to just go to hell like that? Literally, you don't. If you really think about this and look at the revelation of this, when it talks about hell, you're talking about eternal fire and brimstone. You're talking about being punished for eternity. You never stop. And so you want somebody to go there rather than offer them salvation. Yahushua Mashiach said, I came into my own, and my own received me not. So he would turn to them here and there. But we know that the bread belongs to us. He told the lady, says, not lawful that I give the bread unto dogs, the children's bread unto dogs. We are the children. We know that. But later on down the line, we start realizing when he told Peter, he had to go see Cornelius of the Italian band. He said, look, we perceive now that Yah is not a prospective person. We see that the Ruach has fell upon us and it fell upon them also. And so this we have to look at. There's no such thing as looking at common and unclean outside of food. When the Ruach HaKodesh comes upon you, that's the reason why we just don't get, that's why I'm a big advocate of how you baptize. I baptize in Yahushua Mashiach, baptize in Yahushua. Both ways you see it in there, but John's baptism was a baptism of symbolization only. But when you baptize now, as Peter said, every one of you in the name of Yahushua Mashiach, in the name of Yah, in the name, which is Yahushua Mashiach. So it's like, you're not supposed to be focusing on the baptism of water only. It's supposed to be the baptism of water following the Ruach HaKodesh and the baptism of the Ruach coming upon you. The Spirit of Yah has to embody you. So if you just water only, and I see a lot of that, I don't see any emphasis most of the time on being filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. All I see is let's go down, let's go down. I'm not against it. I'm with it, 100% with it, but I don't stop there. That's the thing. After you went down in the water, then we don't stop there. If you stop there, you just come up somebody that just got wet. You have to change your mind frame. You have to actually begin to walk in the ways of Yah and begin to pray for the Ruach HaKodesh, to embody you. You have to do that, but just don't stop with water baptism. And this is what I'm seeing. It reminds me of a cult or something. And that's the thing. That's why I say I'm not trying to get mixed up with what nobody else is doing. That's what they say they perceive from it. That's them. But I saw John diminish himself and begin to put Yahushua Mashiach on the pedestal. He told me, say, I baptize with water, but that's one that come after me that baptized with fire and Ruach. And that's the thing. And I'm not seeing the fire and Ruach part. All I'm seeing is the water. And that's the reason why I say, I baptize in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. Whoever, hey, anybody doing it different, that's on them, because I'm not trying to prove nothing. I'm reading this, what I see, and I'm sticking with it. That's it. I'm not doing nothing different, because I don't see the Ruach following the people that are just doing that. Most of them, anyway. I see a lot of people just doing stuff for more form and fashion, doing stuff just to say, okay, yeah, I did this. No, it's not supposed to be like that. You're supposed to make sure that you're embodying the Ruach HaKodesh. You don't just do that by focusing on only the symbolization only. You go down by obedience, like you said, dude. When you come up from that point, the old man supposed to stay down there. And then you're supposed to come up a new man. For the former things that you were doing supposed to be passed away, and you're supposed to be a new creature in Yahushua Mashiach. You're supposed to put on the body of Yahushua Mashiach. And so, go ahead.
Proverbs 3:6. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path.
Yeah.
Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahuwah and depart from evil. Okay.
All right, now in all the ways acknowledge him, he shall direct your path. Maybe think about it, as many as are led by the Ruach, they're the sons of Yah. So that's the thing. So if you're not led by the Ruach, then you're not a son of Yah. So what are you being led by? Your flesh, other people, other things that we see people doing. So we have to cut it all off, cut all the entertainment, anybody that's doing anything that's saying they're in this walk, but they're not actually operating like they should. You got to see the Ruach HaKodesh begin to operate in people's life. Without that, it doesn't matter. That's why I say my DNA in the Ruach is lamb, lion. I know when to be humble, and I know when to do what I need to do to strike. That's the thing. And you have to have that blend, that perfect blend where you can actually do what Yah wants you to do. You can't be to a point where you're overtaken with any type of thing like anger and all this kind of stuff, because you can't operate, in the Ruach HaKodesh and have that too. You have to give that thing over. And the way you give that thing over, when it comes on, you don't feed it. You just back off. You take it. You take the what they call the jab. You take that fiery dart and you back off. That's the way you begin to, unless it's life threatening. That's the thing. If you're dealing with some type of anger or something, it's going to always venture you off. You're not going to make no sound judgment with the Ruach of anger. That's the thing. So basically looking at that right there, I just want to look at, even Proverbs, when they talk about there's a way that seems right unto man, and the end thereof is death. You think that way is right to you, but the end of that way is death. That's what I'm saying. What led you down that way? You thought that was it because you thought of it. Like what we said in the book of Isaiah 55, it says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, my ways are not your ways. So that way was not my way, that was your way. So when you do it your way, you wind up having to have what we say an awful result. It's something that begins to cause you to be, restricted, cause you to feel like that something is wrong and you can't really put your finger on it. But most of the time you got to go back and say, okay, at what point did I get off track? What am I doing that the Most High don't want me to do? And this is the message that I'm not hearing being ministered most of the time. I'm just hearing a lot of, I don't want to hear a whole lot of quote from just the Torah and all this stuff and don't tell me about the Ruach. I want to hear it all. That's the thing. So it's like, what kind of Ruach are the people possessing that's trying to skip over being led by the Ruach HaKodesh? That's the thing. So this we have to look at. So go ahead. Yeah, you read it.
Proverbs chapter 3, verse 7. Be not wise in your own eyes, fear Yahuwah and depart from evil.
Okay, and depart from evil. That's the thing. So fear Yahuwah and depart from evil. This is the thing. When you look at the fear of Yah, it's just like the very fact that in Genesis, he said, now let there be light, and so it was. And it was just darkness over the face of the earth, and he created everything, should bring you some sense of reverence to him. The very fact that he is the creator should make you have a sense of reverence. When I say fear, I'm not talking about being terrified. I'm talking about a strong sense of reverence, a strong sense of honor unto him, because the fact that he is who he is. We can't deny it. I mean, there has to be something. It's like when the apostles were doing the healing, when they wanted to give them, the Pharisees say, look, we see that a notable miracle has been done and we can't deny it. You know what I'm saying? And they have favor in the sight of people. It's like we have to look at when you're in Yah, everything is going to be magnificent. It's not going to be a position where you're going to get the short end of the stick, because remember, it's not about you, it's about the mission being done. If you have a mission that Yah wants you to do, and that's something that he's calling you to do, and you're actually putting your hands to the plow doing it, it's going to be some things that happen to try to, restrict you and stuff of that nature, but you have to be sure that it's Yah. If you're sure without a shadow of a doubt it's Yah, just like Paul said, abide in the ship. Because you get out the ship, then you're not going to be saved. You have to make sure that you're in him. You have to abide in him. And he has to abide in you. You have to make sure there's a relationship. That's why this chapter starts off saying, my son, daughter too. Because he said in the last days, I'm going to pour out my Ruach upon all flesh, and the sons and daughters should prophesy. That's it. So we have to look at this for what it's worth and say, okay, now that I see what's going on, how do I go forward now? What do I do now where I can make sure I'm not leaning to my own understanding? Because when you lean into your own understanding, you're just doing something. It's just like they talk about just sounding brass. It's like, if you don't have, love mixed up with things that you're doing, it's just nothing. It's nothing else that you can do to actually make it right. Like a lot of things I see going on, they're happening, but they're not mixed with any type of compassion most of the time. It's like force. It's like a lot of attitude and a lot of anger and all this stuff. And that's a side that has to be expressed at times, but the overall character shouldn't always be anger and a cocky Ruach and attitude. If that's the case, that's not the Ruach of Yah. That's some other Ruach, and that's somebody operating in their own. It's a manipulating type Ruach, is what it is. Like that, because you're doing something to try to persuade people other than the way Yah wants you to do it. You're trying to use all these other tactics and stuff. You know how somebody come around, it's like they always got this mean mug look on their face, stuff like, you ain't like that. You're not a monster 24/7. Knock it off. You know what I'm saying? Like that, just be who you are. If you like that 24/7, you need to go get some type of help or counselor or something like that. If you 24/7 angry and mad and hard or whatever like that, that's ignorance. like that. And it's like, and if you're not like that, you know, and you're doing that just to do it, then you're trying to prove some point or trying to come out in some manner to persuade somebody. You know what I'm saying? That's not, you know, that's not of Yah. So we have to make sure that we're not allowing anything to turn us to the left or the right side, you know, make us keep, just go straight. Be like that racehorse with the, right, just like this and just look straight. Ignore everything else on the side of you that's trying to distract you and trying to pull you away from Yah. And so we're not going to lean to our own understanding. Oh, you do verse 8. You can do it.
Proverbs chapter 3, now reading verse 8. It shall be health to your navel and marrow to your bones.
Okay, and this whole chapter is good, but 8 is where we stop at because it just keeps going. But you know, this is the thing: you're gonna be in good health. You're gonna be in good health. I mean, it's like you're not gonna have to, just by doing these things from 1 all the way to this point, and say it should be health. That's it. So you're gonna make sure that everything that goes on, you know, is gonna actually cause you to actually prosper in the way because of the fact that you and Yah. But you can't make sure that if you're doing your own thing, if you lean to your own understanding, it's not going to work. And so this is the thing. So you know you have to depart from evil, and most people are not depart from evil. And the reason why, because we don't look at certain things as being evil. Like you say, well, I'm not. You know, you don't have to be doing nothing big, you know, to depart from evil. We go back to certain things. It can be certain, you know, statues that you have that you hold on to, certain charms, or all this stuff here causes a problem with Yah. You know, all this stuff here, because it falls under divination. It falls under witchcraft and sorcery. You know, a lot of this stuff, tarot reading and all this stuff, palm reading, a lot of people do this stuff not realizing, okay, this is causing the issue. Certain things you're trying to hold on to, certain books, videos, anything that you got that's got some type of demonic activity attached to it, it's not turning from evil if you're trying to hold on to it. You have to get it away from it. You have to get it out of there. That's why back in the Acts, say they turned in their books of curious arts. You know, and they turned in all that stuff because they didn't want to actually have that and be trying to serve Yah at the same time. And so basically that's going to be the end of this here. We're going to close this off with a prayer. Father Yah, we just thank you right now for this day that you have made. We should continue to rejoice and be glad in it. We thank you for the word that went forth, Father Yah. Father Yah, I just want to just let you know we magnify your name because there's none like unto you. Father Yah, we don't take it lightly, Father Yah, just for you giving us another day to get it right, another day to do the things and do the will of you, Father Yah. In the name of your son, Yahushua HaMashiach, we pray, so be it.